Moroccan system of investment incentives. It is an incentive system based on an operational instrument of the public authorities set up for the development of SMEs, and therefore lies at the heart of Morocco's business support system. Thanks to the wide range of products it has been able to develop and enrich since its inception, state investment funds support companies in their process of creation, modernization and improvement of their competitiveness. 1. Financial subsidies from the Industrial Development and Investment Fund (FDII). Benefits. The benefits may be accumulated, however, the total state contribution exceeding 5% of the total amount of the investment program. Nevertheless, in the case where the investment project is planned in a suburban or rural area, this state contribution may reach 10% of the total amount of the investment program. Eligibility criteria. Investment equal to or greater than 100 million dirhams. Creation of at least 250 stable jobs. Settlement in one of the provinces or priority zones. Technology transfer. Environmental protection. Main condition. Signature with the state of an investment agreement approved by the Investment Commission. The project's land parcel. The state participation up to a maximum of 20% of the cost of acquiring the parcel of land intended for the project. Infrastructure. The state contribution to infrastructure expenditure, up to a maximum of 5% of the investment amount. It reaches 10% for spinning, weaving or textile finishing activities. Vocational training. The state participation of 20% of the cost of vocational training. 2. Financial subsidies from the Zone 2 Fund. Eligibility criteria. Investments exceeding 10 million dirhams excluding import duties and taxes, of which investment in capital goods exceeding 5 million dirhams excluding import duties and taxes. Sectors concerned: 1. Manufacturing of equipment for the automotive industry. 2. Manufacturing of equipment for the aeronautical industry. 3. Manufacturing of tools and molds for the automotive and aeronautical industries. 4. Aeronautical maintenance and aircraft dismantling. 5. Manufacturing of electronic assembly components and sub-assemblies. 6. Manufacturing activities related to nanotechnology, microtechnology and biotechnology. 7. Chemical and parachemical industries, cosmetics and natural extracts and recycling of local metal and plastic waste. 8. Pharmaceutical industry and research into new innovative medicines with therapeutic potential, to combat serious diseases. Production of innovative medicines, similar organic generics or medicines with high added value in economic and therapeutic terms. The main condition. The signature with the state representatives of an investment agreement approved by the Investment Commission. The special incentives. Subventions capped at 15% of the investment and 30 million dirhams. In the case of acquisition of land and the construction of buildings, special incentives are given, the rate of 10% of the cost of acquiring land and building construction. The rate of 20% of the acquisition cost of capital goods. In the case of the acquisition of buildings, special incentives are given. The rate of 10% of the acquisition cost of professional buildings. The rate of 20% of the acquisition cost of capital goods. In the case of land rental and building construction, special incentives are given. A rate of 100% of the rent cost of the property calculated on the basis of the first 6 years maximum rent per square meter, or 10% of the construction cost of the buildings. The rate of 20% of the acquisition cost of capital goods. In the case of the rental of buildings, special incentives are given. A rate of 100% of the rent cost of professional buildings calculated on the basis of the first 2 years maximum rent per square meter, and the rate of 20% of the acquisition cost of capital goods. Specific processing. the projects in the aeronautical industry sector, whose investment in capital goods exceeds 200 million dirhams, may be carried out in one or more phases, considering each phase as a project eligible for the fund's contribution. The eligible investment projects in the manufacture of equipment for the automotive industry benefit from a maximum contribution of 15% to the purchase of imported used capital goods used in the stamping, plastic injection, tool and mold making sectors. 3. Export processing zones or free zones regime. Eligibility criteria. At least 70% of the turnover must be generated from exports. Condition. An authorization given by the Wali or Governor with the approval of the local Export Processing Zones Commission. Benefits. Particularly exemption from customs duties, with unlimited exemption from customs duties, and simplified customs procedures. Taxation. Corporate income tax are 0% for 5 years, then 8.75% for 20 years for companies that operate in EPZs, or % for 5 years, then 8.75% for 20 years for operations carried out between companies located in the same EPZ and between companies located in different EPZs. There is a permanent exemption for dividends and other income from similar holdings paid, made available or recorded in the accounts of non-residents from activities carried out by companies located in export processing zones. For income taxes, 0% for 5 years, then 80% tax reduction for 20 years on professional income, or % for 5 years, then 80% tax reduction for 20 years for transactions between companies located in the same EPZ and between companies located in different EPZs. Finance Law 2012. Concerning business tax, there is a total exemption for 15 years. Value-added tax. Exemption from VAT for products supplied and services rendered to export processing zones from the taxable territory. Registration and stamp duties. There is an exemption from incorporation and capital increase deeds, and also an exemption for land acquisitions necessary for the realization of the investment project. The special foreign currencies management regime are the ability of opening foreign currency accounts, the ability of opening accounts in convertible dirhams. These accounts are opened either in the name of customers or in the name of foreign correspondents of Moroccan banks. The ability of opening special accounts denominated in dirhams. The ability of using dirhams banknotes to make payments only to residents for the following expenses. 1. The salaries and other emoluments without limitation of amount. 2. The costs of transport, repair, work and supply of products from the taxable territory, up to a maximum of 5,000 dirhams per operation and a maximum of 150,000 dirhams per year per operator. 4th, the special status of Casablanca Finance City, CFC. Eligibility criteria. To be in compliance with the legislation applicable to financial or non-financial companies, as defined by Law No. 44/2010 relating to the Statute of Casablanca Finance City. To carry out activities with non-resident companies with legal personality, to comply with applicable foreign trade and foreign exchange laws and regulations. Conditions. Installation in the financial center and obtaining the agreement to exercise the commission on the proposal of the Moroccan Financial Board. Taxation. 1. Corporate tax. For service companies with CFC status, total exemption during the first 5 consecutive financial years starting from the first financial year in which the aforementioned status is granted in respect of export turnover and net capital gains from foreign sources realized during the course of a financial year. taxation is applied at the reduced rate of 8.75% beyond this period. B- for regional or international headquarters with CFC status and representative offices of non-resident companies with CFC status, application of the taxation at the reduced rate of 10%, as from the first year of granting the status. Or, application of the minimum contribution and double taxation conventions, the tax base may not be less than 5% of operating expenses. 2. Income tax. Taxation at the specific rate of 20% non-tax withholding tax for salaries, emoluments and gross wages paid to employees working for companies with the status of Casablanca Finance City for a maximum period of 5 years from the date on which they take office. Or, taxation under ordinary law conditions at the progressive rate of the income tax at the request of the employees and on irrevocable option. 3. Registration fees. Exemption for incorporation and capital increase deeds. The Special Foreign Currencies Management Regime. 1. Management of foreign currency assets. Complete freedom for the management of foreign currency assets, i.e. the possibility of making all payments and any investment or investment